Welcome to the Life After 50 show, helping you navigate the second half of your life. Today's show is sponsored by Find Houston Senior Care, your one-stop shop for everything senior care and senior living in the greater Houston area. Visit findhoustonseniorcare.com today. And now, here's your host, Kathryn Watson.
Hey everybody, it's Kathryn Watson with the Life After 50 show, and I am happy to be here today. I have got an interesting program, I think, for you. I hope you'll find it interesting. Any of you out there that is caring for an elderly loved one, you may have already experienced this. If not, you may experience it in the future. So listen up and pay attention. We went through this with my mother-in-law. I know my mother suffered from this problem, and I am prone to this problem. So it is a subject that I think we need to talk about. It's not something that people often talk about, though. So is this dementia? What's happening? All of a sudden, your mom or your dad or somebody that you care about has just flipped 180. They went from being this sweet, docile, wonderful, wonderful person to just this raving lunatic. And they're upset and they're angry and they're spitting and they're hitting and they're doing all kinds of things that you would have never dreamed they would have done. And the things coming out of their mouth, you would have never, ever believed that your mom could have said those things. But you don't know what's going on because it is so out of character. And you just don't know what to do. And your mom is agitated and she's angry and she's frustrated and you don't know what's happening. Is this dementia? What's happening? Well, the truth is, if it comes on really fast like that, most likely your loved one has a UTI. So what is a UTI? A lot of you may not have ever heard of a UTI. It stands for urinary tract infection. And they are very common, especially in elderly women. The interesting thing is they're common in younger women as well. I want to point that out. I have been suffering with urinary tract infection since I was a small child. So they're very common. And there's lots of reasons why, and we'll discuss that a little bit down in the show today. But the difference is a UTI in an elderly person is going to give you totally different symptoms. So a young person is going to typically feel burning and pain when they go to the bathroom. It's going to be uncomfortable. They may run a fever. All of these things are going on. In an elderly person, they may have none of those symptoms. None of them. They don't have any fever. They don't complain of any burning or pain. They're not having to go to the urinate 2 or 3 times every hour. But their mental processes change. Their personality can change big time. Overnight, they'll go from the sweet little old lady like I was talking about to this raving lunatic. Or it could flip the other way, but usually they become more agitated, angry, frustrated. Their clarity of thought is not there. They cannot express what's going on. They have trouble with their memory. And this may be somebody who's never shown any signs of having trouble with their memory. Now, on the other hand, someone with dementia that gets a UTI, their symptoms, their dementia symptoms are just going to get so much worse. They're just going to be blown out of proportion. So if they normally get a little bit agitated in the later afternoon, it's going to explode into big agitation. So it's really important that you get a handle on it and you figure out what's going on quickly. And that's why I wanted to do this show, because I know so many people don't realize what's happening. And a question I get asked a lot, does it affect men also? Absolutely. Elderly men do have UTIs as well. However, it is much more common in women. Most women, because of the nature of the way our bodies are built, it just makes it easier for bacteria to get into the urinary tract and cause an infection. So that is the reason why. And elderly women as well experience more dryness in that area, and that can cause cracking and can cause more ways for infections to get in. So a lot of people think that it's possibly, they're not keeping themselves clean enough. Well, that's not it. It really isn't. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. But what should you do if you suspect that mom has a UTI? Well, the first thing you need to do is get on the phone, call the doctor. Don't try doing over the counter stuff. We'll talk about some of those products in a minute and how they might be helpful. But if you have got an infection going on, you have got to have antibiotics. No ifs, ands, or buts. You've just got to have antibiotics. So you need to get a culture run, a urine culture run. And if you have a home care person coming in, maybe you have home health care coming into your home, they can do the culture in the home and bring it to the lab or the doctor's office or wherever it needs to go to be checked. So that can make it a little bit easier for families. And that's one of the big reasons I'm a big proponent in getting extra help, because when you deal with these kinds of situations, you don't always know what to do, and it may be really difficult to get mom out to the doctor. But if you have to, get her to the doctor, because you have got to get this under control. The sooner the better. The great news is, once you get those antibiotics in, it doesn't take long. I mean, within sometimes less than 24 hours, I have seen remarkable improvement in my loved one. Sometimes it takes two or maybe even 3 days, but usually it's pretty quick. Usually after that first, second dose, we're going much better, and they calm down and they feel better. And it's just so much better for everybody involved. But what about when somebody has chronic UTIs? Like I do. I have chronic UTIs. Now, I'm still younger. I'm getting there, but I'm still in my mid 60s. So I'm not having the symptoms that my mother-in-law said had, and the symptoms that I've been talking about. I have the more common symptoms, but they're chronic. And my mother-in-law was also having these chronic infections. Now, she had never had them as a young woman. She went through life skating free, no problems. And then in her 80s, she started having them. And let me tell you, they were not pleasant for her or for anybody around her. She really got agitated and she really got frustrated and upset. So I wanted to figure out, what can we do to keep her from having these, because it seemed like we were constantly calling the doctor and getting another prescription. She'd be off of a prescription for maybe a week and we'd start up with another one again. So one of the things you want to do is make sure that they're hydrated. So drinking water, getting fluids in them any which way you can. My mother-in-law, unfortunately, did not like to drink water, so we had to find other ways. We'd get her to drink some, but we had to find other ways. She loved watermelon, so when watermelon was in season, we fed her lots of watermelon. I'd make the little watermelon balls, and she just loved that. So any way you can get fluids into them, and stay away from caffeinated, because caffeinated drinks will dehydrate you, and you do not want to be dehydrated if you have a UTI. So you want to do that. What about over-the-counter supplements? I get asked this a lot, and I have taken over-the-counter supplements. In fact, I take them often in between a UTI infection to keep from getting more UTIs. So when my antibiotics are finished, I will get on something called D-mannose and with cranberry. Now, you hear a lot about cranberry. You don't want to go to the store and get ocean spray cranberry juice. That's not going to help because it's so full of sugar, and that's just going to cause the problem to be worse. So if you're going to drink cranberry juice, and let me tell you, straight cranberry juice is pretty tart. So unless you've tasted it and you know you like it, you might want to get the cranberry pills. But I prefer to get the D-mannose. That combined with the cranberry seems to work for me. So you might want to look that up. I'm not recommending it. I'm not, telling you to go out there and get it. Everybody's situation is different, but it might be something that you research and take a look at. What else should you do? So obviously, it is important to keep the area clean. The most common bacteria is E. coli, which comes from our bowel movements. And again, it's because of the way women are designed with everything so close together. And it doesn't matter how clean you are. There's just still that possibility of getting contamination into the urinary tract, especially as women age. Sometimes the bladder has fallen somewhat, and that could cause problems to make it easier to catch these infections. So you're going to want to, you might want to invest though in a bidet. They're not expensive anymore. You can add one to your existing toilet for about $50. And it really makes a difference. It'll make sure that the area is kept clean because think about it. My mother-in-law is a prime example. She had rheumatoid arthritis. She was really crippled towards the end. And just moving was difficult for her, much less trying to clean herself properly from front to back as a woman should. It was difficult for her. So, and sometimes I don't think the caregivers paid as much attention to that job, so to speak. So having a portable bidet added to the toilet, I think would be a great benefit to help keep the area clean. In fact, I think all assisted living facilities should have that option. They should have them automatically on the commodes there. I think that would just really help with the hygiene because it is difficult for somebody that has crippling arthritis. New treatments. You might want to talk to if somebody's having chronic urinary tract infections, get an appointment with a urologist. Okay, they specialize in this sort of thing. And one of the things that urologists are starting to recommend more now, and at first, when my urologist recommended it to me, I thought he was absolutely nuts. And then I started looking it up and researching and reading about it, and it made perfect sense. But it's hormonal cream. And he explained to me that sometimes the area can get dry and cracked. And this is a great place for just the tiniest bit of bacteria to jump in and cause an infection. So if you're prone or you have somebody that you love that's prone to urinary tract infections, you don't have to suffer and they don't have to suffer. Get the help you need. But if you're having them chronically, go visit a urologist. They specialize in these things and they'll know what is the best option and the best suggestions for you to do. So I'm Kathryn Watson, and I'm glad you could join me today. I hope this was helpful. You can find more information. I post tons of information. I've got over 500 blogs now on the Find Houston Senior Care website. as well as all of the Life After 50 programs. And I've interviewed some amazing people for this program. So take a look. And when you are able to, join us for a senior conference. Our next one will be in April. We have them about 6 times a year, and I bring specialists in to talk about a variety of subjects. So I hope that's helpful, and I want you to have a great day. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us on the Life After 50 show, where we help you navigate the second half of your life. Join us every Wednesday live on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And don't forget to visit findhoustonseniorcare.com and thesenior-conference.com.